All right, we are live. Hello, all. Welcome to our third episode of Cupcakes and Hot Takes with Maral and John. I'm Maral.
And I'm John.
Today we watch, well, not today, but today we're talking about the Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, Shawshank Redemption, classic movie.
Song is playing right now.
Yes,
We'll
the
be playing the soundtrack finally.
Yes, thank you again for that recommendation to play music in the background. Coming. Alright, let's get into it. Shawshank Redemption. It was released on September 10th, 1994, and is actually based on a book, or a novella rather, by Stephen King, which was called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption.
Fun fact, John did not realize it was a Stephen King film, which you should have because it's set in Maine. Anything set in Maine is a Stephen King story.
Yeah, I should have known that.
Another fun fact, we were recently in the Bahamas and we met a man from Maine, and I joked around and I was like, oh, do you know Stephen King? This man goes, yeah, he was my teacher. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, that was my English teacher in high school. I went to a prep school. He was my English teacher. I was like, what are there, 5 people living in Maine?
Yeah, I doubt it. Who wants to live in Maine? Really?
I mean, it's beautiful.
Well, yeah.
Lobsters.
Too many rich folk. But anyways, so the movie, surprisingly, the movie only had, or it had a $25 million budget. Oh, hello, Legion, on Black Cat. But surprisingly, the movie only made $16 million on its initial theatrical release, meaning it lost over $9 million.
Rough.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but the movie had a lot of competition apparently in 1994.
And not nearly as popular as it is today.
Yeah, it had to compete against movies such as Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump. And there's a few other issues that people had with the movie, hence why I didn't make a lot of movie initially. It had no women actors, and the title was really confusing to the public, although I don't really understand why, but...
I guess, like, word of mouth, like, if you're trying to say, like, oh, there's this movie I watched that was really good, and then someone's like, what is it called? Shawshank Redemption. And then, like, you're trying to remember that, and then you're like, something with an S? I don't know. Imagine if it was still called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
That would have made it so much more difficult.
Oh, yeah. Good call getting rid of the Rita Hayworth part. But let's go into the synopsis. Mary, you wanna...
Alright, our story follows Andy Dufresne, a man that has been convicted and sentenced to a life-long
Two life sentences.
2 life sentences for the murder of his wife and his wife's lover. He goes to jail and meets... what's his name?
Ellis Redding.
Alice Redding. That's the most of the story without any spoilers.
Yeah, so it's a story of a man living out his prison sentence.
In Maine.
Oh, welcome, Bragg Chump, which I believe
I think
is Carlos.
that's Carlos, yeah.
Alright. So what are your initial thoughts, or, what would you give them? How many cupcakes would you give this movie?
9.5 cupcakes, which is our highest thus far.
Wow, I agree. 9.5 cupcakes.
Hey, we actually agree for one.
Yeah, and that is our highest rating that we get in the movie so far on this IMDb list. Granted, it's only the third movie, but
it's technically the first movie on the list.
Third one we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a classic. Interestingly enough, and we're gonna go into this in a moment, The Shawshank Redemption, despite how highly praised it is, 7 Academy Award nominations, but actually won 0 Oscars.
Very sad.
Yeah, that was very surprising when I realized that it won 0.
But like you said before, it had some rough competition that year. 94 was a great year for movies. The 90s in general.
Yeah, I think 90s was the peak of movies. If you just look at the...
Even 2000, 2001, early aughts.
Yeah, the early aughts had its moments too.
Yeah.
But I think 90s overall as a decade had the best movies. But, alright, so moving forward, just a fair warning to anyone who has not seen the movie yet. both wants to and doesn't want to get spoiled.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert. Moving here on out.
Although I will say this movie is as old as I am, so you've had 27 years to watch it. Just saying.
Definitely one of those movies we highly recommend you do watch. All right. Let's get into it. Let's start off by talking about the Academy Awards. 67th Academy Awards.
Yes, tell me about all the L's it got.
Yes, so it was nominated for Best Picture, and it went up against other movies such as Forrest Gump, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Pulp Fiction, and Quiz Show.
I don't know what Quiz Show is.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Quiz Show. And just another interesting note, other movies that came out the same year that it also had to compete against was Lion King and Speed. Very iconic movies.
I didn't realize Speed was that old.
Yeah. Back when Keanu Reeves looked he still looks the same, but looks younger-ish. Yeah, so it lost Best Picture to Forrest Gump. Oh, right, this one doesn't have color. Okay, let's switch trade real quick. Let's see what else.
Switch.
It was also nominated for Best Actor by Morgan Freeman. Again, lost to Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump.
So, Morgan Freeman was the lead actor.
Yes.
Well, I guess that makes sense. He's also the narrator, so
Yeah.
he probably had the most lines.
Yeah. Fun trivia: this was the first movie Morgan Freeman actually narrated anything in.
Oh, really?
And this movie, because he did so well, is what
got him into his narration.
Yeah, started off his narration career. So.
Well, March of the Penguins wouldn't have been the same without Morgan Freeman.
Well, if you want to continue with the awards.
Sure.
Sorry, our dog needs to be let out.
Tom Hanks won with Forrest Gump for Best Actor. Then Best Screenplay based on material previously produced or published. We got nominated for, but Forrest Gump won again. Again, Jenny.
Let's see what else it was nominated for but lost. Best Sound.
Best Original Score.
Yeah, Best Original Score and Best Sound. Best Original Score was lost to The Lion King by Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer, he's great.
Yeah.
You know, it was actually his magnum opus because his father had just died. And to begin with, he didn't want to do the dang film, Hans Zimmer, for The Lion King.
Oh, really?
He wanted to do it only because he had a young daughter at the time. And he was like, why do I want to do a movie with like fuzzy little lions? And then he watched the film and he was like, wow, this is about someone who lost his father. And so he actually wrote like a really compelling story and song because he had just lost his father. And so that's why it went so hard.
Makes sense. Let's see, it also lost Best Sound to Speed. It's been a while since I've seen Speed, but I didn't realize Speed has such a great sound.
I know.
Best Cinematography, also nominated. And Best Film Editing, also nominated, but lost to Forrest Gump yet again.
That dang feather.
Yeah, that damn Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Which is on the list, and one of the
We will be
movies-
watching,
we will be
yes.
watching it, so.
It is a cultural touchstone.
Yes. Although from my memory, it's been a while since I've seen Forrest Gump, and I'm sure I'll bring this up again. I think Shawshank is a better movie.
I
my
think
personal
Shawshank
opinion.
is a better movie. I think Forrest Gump is more of a cultural touchstone.
Correct, I agree with that.
It is much more relevant today and in people's memories.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, but like I said, I think Shawshank should have beat Forrest Gump for Best Picture this year. But like I said, we'll touch that on again when we watch Forrest Gump.
Yeah. All right, let's move forward.
Yeah, let's talk about the actual movie itself. Okay, so the movie opens with a murder trial of the main character. He's being prosecuted for the murder of his wife and his wife's lover. Seeing how he killed, prosecuted for killing both of them. And he is sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison and is sent to Shawshank Prison. For those of you that don't know, that is the name of the movie. I thought it was a strong opening. It already sets the tone, like you want to feel for this character. Because the character, of course, is arguing that he's innocent. His life is on the line. It kind of sets the tone that you're worried about him.
You're wiggling the table.
You're already worried about him. What are your thoughts on the opening?
I thought it was weak. It doesn't match the tone of the rest of the film. It's kind of rushed. It's got this weird, like, fugue dream feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's set in reality. It just doesn't match the rest of the film. It doesn't match the rest of the tone. It's kind of forgetful to me. That's how I feel about it. The film, for me, kind of starts in Shawshank, and it doesn't start
That's
with the trial.
That's always what I thought about, like, the editing, like, kind of like in that fugue state, because the movie doesn't officially start until Shawshank.
Listen,
right?
I understand what they were going for.
Yes, they had to separate.
Is like this, like, dreamy feel and vibe to it. It doesn't mean it was good.
Well, I'll agree to disagree.
That's the weakest point for me. But luckily, it's only like a minute, 2 minutes long. It's a very short scene.
Yeah. But, yeah, as we continue to go on to the movie really opens the eyes to the justice system as it is today. We see issues that have been happening for years. As Maral said, the movie's 27 years old, and we still see the same issues.
Well, it's set in the 50s.
Yeah, and it's set in the 50s, which is even further back. It's the same problems that we've been facing in the judicial system for over 70 years, unfortunately.
It is. I think it's very interesting because you can see what the differences are and the similarities. So there's a lot of things that are the same, but a lot of things that are much more different. We can talk about that more as we go forward.
Fun fact: Captain Hadley, the captain of the correctional officers in the movie, he had I believe it was the director or someone wanted him to actually meet with correction officers to help his portrayal of the movie. But since his character is not necessarily the most ethical or the most good, the actor refused to meet any correctional officers because he didn't want to portray them being bad people.
So he was like, I'm going to be a bad person. I don't want to
it to be influenced.
I don't want to directly mooch off of an actual human being.
Well, he didn't want to paint a bad name
of an actual human
of an actual correctional officer.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
This guy is pretty brutal. Pretty, like I said, we're in spoiler territory, so the first night they have like a bunch of new people come into the prison. He beats the crap out of a guy. Fat Ass is his name. Like, in the actual title credits, his name is Fat Ass.
Yeah.
And the guy dies the first night because the correctional officer Hadley murdered him by a beating.
He doesn't murder him. He sends it to an infirmary.
Yeah, and the doctor had already gone home for the doctor had gone home for the night, and he dies of his wounds overnight. And obviously, he isn't convicted of anything. He just continues working as the captain of the COs.
Yeah.
Prisoner abuse is rampant today. Continues to be. And I think it's interesting to compare it to prison films as another genre. We see the same themes throughout. Orange is the New Black. Though it's not a film, it's a TV series. You've got all kinds of CO abuse and prisoner issues. You got Holes, which, I don't know, it's technically not a prison. It's a camp prison camp for children. There's The Green Mile, which is another Stephen King film. Escape from Alcatraz, American History X.
Yeah, so one thing with all that, there is a repetitiveness with these prison movies.
All the same story, kind of.
A lot of repeating stories and things like that. That's one thing I really like about Shawshank. It is a story about an innocent man, right? Spoiler alert, again. He's actually proven to be innocent later in the movie. But it's a story about an innocent man, and he gets the revenge and justice, and he actually escapes prison. How many prison movies have you seen where the main character actually escapes?
Well, Holes, he manages to show he's number one innocent, and number two, he shuts down the prison camp. So there's a bit of comeuppance in Holes, but it's a children's
Yeah, it's a children's movie and book, Holes. I'm talking about, like, adult movies. You look at The Green Mile, spoiler alert.
Well, Escape from Alcatraz. They escape. Spoiler alert.
Well, that's the name of the movie. You know what I mean? Like The Green Mile, the guy dies at the end. And,
No, American History X, another spoiler. I think it's also on our list. The main character is brutally prison raped.
Yeah. Yeah, and, this movie also had, rape scenes. I mean, they don't show anything, but...
Which, thank God,
yeah.
Honestly. We don't need to see that.
And that's one nice thing I enjoyed. Another thing I liked about Shawshank. It had a brutal, tough, things that it talked about, but it didn't, necessarily have to show
Yeah,
anything.
we didn't... we don't need to see that kind of
even
stuff.
The scene where the captain is beating fat ass.
It's shot very far away,
yeah,
so you don't see.
And it's
too
all
much.
dark, just silhouettes.
Yeah,
for
I
the most
appreciate
part.
that.
Yeah.
It's like what I said about The Godfather, where they cut to the swinging door in the mirror. Like, the implication of violence and the imagery of violence are two completely different things, and we understand what violence is. We're not stupid.
Yeah.
We don't need to see it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, show some, but you don't have to constantly just barrage us with it over and over and over.
And I don't want to see prison rape scenes either. So.
Yeah, I don't want to see prison rape scenes either.
All right.
Let's get into like the
actual cinematography. Yeah. So I really like the lighting of this film. It's definitely sad. Like, it just visually is sad, right? Everything's gray. Everything's really cool tones, blue, gray. Except for a few vital scenes that pop because of the dreariness and the monotony of everything else that the film has been shot in. So what I'm thinking of specifically is when they're talking about finally leaving the prison, they're talking about the ocean, how they want to go to Mexico, the Pacific Ocean. And when they shoot to the ocean while they're talking about it, the ocean is really gray and dreary. But it's still the ocean, right? It's beautiful. And when Red finally leaves Shawshank Prison and he goes to visit Andy Dufresne in Mexico, the ocean is like blue, crystal blue, gorgeous. The colors have changed. Mexico is beautiful and colorful. So they do a good job about like showing the difference.
Yeah, I agree. Another scene, one of the very first scenes where we see bright yellow and warm tones is the scene where they are tarring the roof.
It's my favorite scene, I think.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. The special select few get chosen. It's more of a rigged process thanks to Red.
Red's been in there for a long time. He's got some connections with the COs.
Yeah. And they're all on the rooftop, and the captain of the guard, he talks about he gets like $30,000, but he has to give a bunch of it to the government for taxes and stuff like that. And Andy Dufresne, who was a former banker executive, teaches the captain on how to keep all the money through donation to his wife. IRS okayed it, and they got some beer. They got some beer and got to just rest for a time. And there was so much hope in that movie. Maybe
it's a happy time.
Yeah, just a happy moment in prison. A horrible predicament to be in, but there's still hope, and I think that was one of the biggest themes of the movie. Just needing hope, holding on to it, hoping for a better
and feeling
tomorrow.
Like real men.
Yeah, feeling like a human.
Yeah.
Which is really saddening, that feeling like a human, which is very normal to us.
I mean, prison is built for dehumanization.
Yeah. But they did such a good job of it, setting that and setting the tone.
Yeah.
What about other aspects of the movie? Editing, script, acting?
All great. Pacing is great because of good editing. The script is great. Red's narration and like verbiage and speech, all great, fantastic, beautiful. The set is really good. I definitely was shocked to realize the film was made in '94. because it definitely feels like an older film because they do such a good job in setting it in the 50s that I definitely thought it was like a film from the 70s or something.
Interesting fact about Ellis Redding, he's nicknamed Red, and he has a line in the movie. Andy Dufresne goes up to him. Tim Robbins is the actor. He goes up to Morgan Freeman and says, "Why did they call you Red?" And he goes, "Maybe it's because I'm Irish," as a joke, right? Interestingly enough, it was a nod to the original novella where the character was actually Irish and had red hair, so hence the nickname Red.
Still funny.
Yeah, so that was an interesting little tidbit I found out. Going into the acting, Tim Robbins, Andy Dufresne, the banker, he did a pretty good job.
He's definitely designed to be an everyman, a normal. I mean, he's smart. He's a really smart man, but like his looks are very plain. He's a plain looking dude.
Doesn't talk too much.
Doesn't talk a lot. Regular.
Yeah. He played his character very well.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be that lackluster kind of middle of the pack, not keeping his head down type of guy.
I think it kind of goes towards like he never fought for his wife. He didn't fight for his freedom enough, and so he lost it all.
Yeah. And there's an interesting line he has in the movie where, during the movie, he ends up becoming like this money-making machine, for lack of a better word, for the warden.
He's laundering the money that the warden is illegally amassing.
Yeah, he finds a lot of loopholes and stuff, because he used to be a banker. And he says to, Morgan Freeman, outside of prison, I was an honest man, but I had to come into prison to become a crook, right? Doing all these illegal money laundering things and like that. And what were we talking about? Where are we going with this?
I don't know where you're going with this.
What were we talking about before this? Oh my goodness.
Andy Dufresne is a normal dude. Lackluster. Regular dude. Didn't fight for his wife and his life.
And he lost it all.
Oh,
yeah, kind of going into like him losing who he was as a person. He had to adapt and change. And I forget where I was going with this. But anyways, sorry, my mistake. One of my personal opinions about where the movie kind of falls a little flat would be the soundtrack.
The one we're listening to right now?
Yes, the soundtrack we're listening to right now.
I'd have to say Lion King definitely deserved to win over this soundtrack. I can recall the Forrest Gump soundtrack much more vividly. This one, it does a good job of being in the background.
Yeah, it's good enough not to be distracting from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's good enough.
But it doesn't add too much to the film.
Yeah.
I think.
It's
like that we just heard the violin, the da-na-na.
Yeah.
It sounded nice, but like I don't know, it doesn't become its own character.
It's nothing special.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's like I'm gonna make a football reference. Jim McMahon, quarterback for the '85 Bears.
Yes, football.
He was, they won the Super Bowl. He was good enough to get them to the Super Bowl and win it.
But it was a defense.
It was a defense, and it was other, that
for
really
the 85
won
Bears.
the championship. That helped them.
The '85 Bears, I know about.
So he was a good enough quarterback not to distract or bring down the team to sub Super Bowl level.
However,
but he's not like the most amazing quarterback ever. He's not Aaron Rodgers or anyone like that.
If the soundtrack is the quarterback, Morgan Freeman is the defense team. His narration, his charisma, his what am I looking? Joie de vivre. Like, he's fantastic in the film. He's very drawing. He's very magnetic. He's a great lead actor. His narration, like we talked about, was great.
Yeah, like I said, he did a phenomenal job.
And I think the narration does a great job at passing time, because the film goes through 18 years?
19 years.
19 years of his life sentence. And that's what the narration does so well, is it passes the time really well for us. Is it allows different time periods to go through. It tells us how long has passed, what has happened, what has occurred, what we missed, without dragging, without being unnecessary, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Normally I'm a fan of show don't tell, but in this case his tell was good enough to not be bad.
It was phenomenal.
It was good.
Let's see.
Carlos, please tell us if the music is too loud.
Yes, please let us know if we need to change anything.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're playing music in the background, so we kind of tested it, but, you know, and then we're just like, fuck it, let's just get into it. Yeah, but going into, you know, kind of like the other things about the movie, one thing I really enjoyed about the movie is the idea that they had to find joy and enjoyment in the little things.
Honestly,
thank you.
Agreed with that, you know. I'm not in prison, but at work, which feels like prison. And you just gotta enjoy the little things in life, you know?
Yeah.
And absolutely, you gotta hold on to those little sparks of joy to get you through the life sentence.
That is work.
That is work or prison.
Yeah, so speaking of which, if there's any sponsors out there, you know, I like Coke. Not the drug, the drink, thank you. But anyways, yeah, you know, there's certain scenes in the, you know, or certain lines in the movie, where Andy Dufresne, he asks for a little rock hammer, which is about this big, right? It's like a little pickaxe, and
he sculpts like rock sculptures out of it.
Yeah, he sculpts things out with it,
And at first, Red is really hesitant to get it for him because he's like, if you murder somebody with this dang rock axe, I will never get you anything ever again. And Dufresne is like, it's a little tiny thing. I promise I won't do anything bad with it. It's so small, you know, it's impossible to use as a real weapon.
Yeah. And even in the beginning, right? Red is like, yo, what are you planning to do? Dig yourself out of here? And Andy Dufresne laughs, and Red's like, "Why? What's so funny?" And he goes, "You know, you'll understand when you see it." And he sees it, right?
It's like this little thing.
Yeah, it's this little thing, and he was like, "Oh my God! If you use this to try to dig out of here, it takes 600 years to get out." And
yeah, fun fact: it takes 19 years to get out.
Yeah, you know, when Andy Dufresne does dig out using the rock hammer,
the thing's worn down to a nub, like.
Yeah, and man, Morgan Freeman's like, "Well, I stand corrected. It took 19 years, not 600 years to dig out of Shawshank."
So that's how he gets out. Is he manually digs a wall,
through
the wall into a pipe, the ship pipe, and out of Shawshank.
Yes. You want to say that quote?
What quote? Oh, so memorable quotes. I personally love Andy Dufresne, who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. And tied to that narration, Andy Dufresne is just crawled out of the literal shit pipe, covered in god awfulness. And he goes into the river or pond or whatever, and it's raining, and he reaches out like this, and it's shot from above. The cinematography is great. The lightning blasts on him, and it's just a great scene, great quote.
Yeah, disgusting but beautiful. But you know, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, about the hope and, you know, holding on to humanity. This movie does such a good job of balancing, you know, when they give us hope and when they take it away. You know, you can't just keep giving us too much hope or
or making us too sad.
Yeah, you know, you need that right balance. You know, even with Brooke, right?
The old man
who gets released from prison. He's been in jail for 40-some years.
No,
50-some years.
Yeah.
And he gets released. You know, he's an old man, and he hates it on the outside. He wants to stay in jail. You know, that's what his whole life. He's been there since he was 20 years old. It's the only life he ever really known. And unfortunately, you know, he goes out into the world. He's released. You know, the prison system helps him get a job as a bagger. But unfortunately, he does kill himself because he can't find happiness. He was happier in jail.
Because the jail had broken him down so much that he had lost his humanity. He lost his capacity to function in society.
Yeah. But even in that, like, not narration, the monologue, Brooks' monologue when he's writing, you know, the letter to the jailmates, you know, he talks about how maybe he should, you know, rob the grocery store he's working at, you know, to get thrown back into jail. And he talks about, well, maybe I'll shoot the manager too, you know, it'll be a bonus for me.
That manager was an asshat.
Well, yeah, he was an asset, but you know, the idea that there's still moments
Funny.
of enjoyment, you know, lightheartedness despite these horrible things, and you know, kind of punches in that theme again about, you know, despite how horrible things are, you gotta find the joys in the little things, the happiness. Yeah, you know, just again, despite these glimpses of hope, it does keep getting taken away from us.
It gets worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah. You know, for an example, Andy Dufresne, you know, he's getting raped, you know, prison raped by this group of guys. And
what do they call him?
His name is Bob.
No. The group.
Oh,
the Butch gays.
I forget
something similar to that. Anyway.
Yeah, and then, you know, at one point, right, because Andy Dufresne, he helped Captain Hadley save all that money, the $30,000. Captain Hadley beats the shit out of the main rapist of the group, Boggs, that's his name.
That's right.
And, you know,
never walks again.
He never walks again. You know, he's paralyzed, but, you know, there's
the satisfaction to the comeuppance, you know, getting a little bit of revenge, getting justice in your own way.
But despite that, there's other moments of hope, like the library. And one of Andy's greatest missions and goals in the movie was to get a library and build a library, which he actually does after annoying congressmen over and over and over for money.
For 5 some years.
Yeah, a letter every week.
He writes them a letter every week.
And so they finally give him stuff, books and money. And so it's like, oh my God, there's more hope. And the warden, he uses it against Andy Dufresne. You know, something he's spent years and years building up. And the warden, who's a horrible, evil character, we'll go into that later, you know, uses it against Andy to hurt him. He's like, we'll have a little book burning in the yard, you know, and, you know, just, you can't have anything.
No.
But despite all that, he breaks free. Oh, hello, Katya, our gray cat.
Why don't you say that other quote about hope?
Oh, yeah, and something Red says to Andy, right? Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane.
Another memorable quote.
Yeah, another memorable. There's lots of memorable quotes. I thought she'd walk off. Come on. Yeah, you know, just like I said, I don't know how many times we gotta repeat it. One thing you'll notice about, well, me personally, is the better a movie is, the less I have to say about it. So
this will be one of our shorter podcasts.
Yeah. But kind of going into, you know, just like the humanity aspect. Again, sorry, we're gonna beat that horse over and over. You know, we see, you know, the lowest of the lows in 2 different aspects, which I really love. In the first half of the movie, we see that classic evil human being, the rapist, right? Boggs is a horrible human being, you know, it's constantly gang raping the main character. And, you know, that's the classic, like, evil person. And then you see the warden, and he's in the second half of the movie, that he's the main villain. You know, this warden, you know, he's in charge of the jail, but he's such a selfish man, and the money laundering. So in the movie, you find out, you know, Andy Dufresne is innocent, and there's another criminal, or, you know, another person, an inmate, that has proof that Andy Dufresne is innocent. So Andy Dufresne goes to the warden and says, "Warden,
here's proof that I can be free and I'm an innocent man.
Yeah, I can get another trial. I'm innocent. Which is something he's been saying the whole movie. But of course, he's in jail. No one believes him. And the warden not only throws him into solitary for 2 months, he kills the guy that
had proof.
That had the proof. He kills the inmate.
The guy had a little baby girl.
Yeah, the inmate had a little baby girl. He was like in his young 20s. He just got his GED through the prison
sad.
with Andy's help. And yeah, unfortunately, he gets killed because the warden wants all this money to keep funneling in. And then the way, luckily, Andy set it up is he is able to not only escape the jail, but steal all the money.
Because fuck him, that's why.
Yeah, fuck him, that's why. The movie of the story of the greatest troll in the history of cinematic history.
Listen, he deserved that.
Yeah, he does deserve it. Like I said, trolls aren't necessarily just people that want to screw people over, period. Sometimes they do it for good reasons. There's some people that troll racist people in the world.
On the internet.
And they're looking for a just cause.
That's God's work right there. That's God's work.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think another thing the movie did really well is splitting that in half. The first half, right? When there is no hope, and you just have the classic villain, that rapist. And the second half of the movie, that is when there is hope. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But then he fights another enemy that's so much worse.
Systematic.
Yeah, systematic. Like a systematic, more modern, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. The real villain.
Yeah, the real ultimate villain.
Is the man. The man always gets you down.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, for the most part, a lot of the things I had to say about the movie. Like I said, the editing was great, the script was great, acting was great, set design, costuming was great. Did you have anything else you really wanted to add?
Let's see. Cinematography was pretty good. They did a good job about filming from above a lot, which was interesting because it gives you the scope of the prison really well. It kind of makes the characters smaller, make the prison look bigger, so it's good at setting the background a lot. Like I said, the colors, the prison garb, instead of bright orange that we think of nowadays, they're wearing grays and blues, sets that visual cool tone, and also the monotony, the sadness. And also something that I thought was really interesting is a lot of these prison problems are so similar to what we see today. We're looking at, prison literacy, like that guy who got murdered who had just gotten his GED. Prior to that, he was pretty much illiterate. Yeah. And how do you aid your defense when you literally can't read? You know what I mean? How can you defend yourself if you can't even read and write? And that's a huge problem that we have today. Prison rape is a huge problem we have today. Use of isolation, when he's put into isolation for 2 months without seeing another human soul, that kind of stuff drives people actually insane. The CO brutality with no repercussions because this guy kills someone and fat ass gets no justice, gets no comeuppance. And also prison labor. These people are out here working because the warden, that's how he makes his money, by the way. He comes up with this great scheme to use his prisoners for free labor, and he racks up all the money from it, right? Because no company can compete with free labor, right? So he undercuts all the companies nearby, and other companies try to give him some kickback money so that he will stop undercutting them. So he's getting money hand over fist, and he's pocketing all of it. It's an early form of the prison industrial complex and private for-profit prisons. I love a good prison genre film because the story is so universal, right? The yearning for freedom, for justice. All of the films, usually someone is innocent and they get their freedom. It's such a like basic human need and yearning and want and desire. Yeah, it's just great film. It's filmed beautifully. It's a very human story that we can all relate to, and it's just done very well. That's all I got.
I would like to end with one last line that I personally love in the movie, and when the very first time I saw it back in high school, this one line like really stuck with me because I thought it was so fucking hilarious. It's when the rapists, right, they get to Andy Dufresne and they like corner him, they have him, you know, wrapped up, right? And Boggs, the main rapist, he's like, you know what?
You and your obsession with this rapist.
No,
I'm just saying you bring it up the whole time.
He goes, you know, basically he's like, hey, what I got, you're gonna put in your mouth and you're gonna swallow it all, right? And Andy Dufresne goes, if you put that in my mouth, you're gonna lose your penis, right? And then the guy pulls out like a shank, goes, if you...
It was a shiv, first of all.
If you bite down on my penis, this thing's gonna go right into your head. And Andy Dufresne goes, or any like trauma to the head causes the jaw to clench down, and it's so hard that you need a crowbar to open it, right? And the guy's like, where did you learn this? I read.
I read it in a book.
Yeah, I read it in a book. And so then they just end up beating the shit out of him, and that's when the captain beats the shit out of Boggs. But yeah,
But he doesn't get orally raped.
He doesn't get orally raped.
So there's that.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, very
and
great
with
movie.
that,
that's.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that was your ending point.
Yeah, that was my ending point about the movie. But so next time, so thank you guys for listening.
Yes. Always.
Yes. Like I said, we haven't uploaded them up on YouTube yet, but we will. But our next movie on the list is The Dark Knight. Yeah, it's
right there.
The Dark Knight, which I'm really excited for. I love that movie.
Is that the first one?
The second one. Batman Begins is the first one.
That's right. Should we watch both?
I'm willing to just watch The Dark Knight. I think Batman Begins was the weakest of the three.
Valid.
So with that,
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
That's the one with Heath Ledger?
I think it's one of the best movies in the last... What is it? What's 2020, right? It came out in 2008,
I believe.
Yeah, 2008. So what is that?
It's 2022, so 14 years.
Probably the best, one of the best movies, top 3 for sure in the last 14 years.
Jojo Rabbit?
Jojo Rabbit's one of the top 3.
Sad it's not on our list.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed Jojo Rabbit.
I only have put number 3 because I can't think of another one, but I'm sure there's at least something else in there.
So far we've seen each of the films we've seen, but after The Dark Knight, I have not seen 12 Angry Men.
I read the play.
Okay.
And honestly, I was not a big fan of the play at the end. The end result, I thought it was kind of stupid.
Well, we'll see if they changed it in the movie.
Yeah, we'll see. All
right. Thanks for watching Cupcakes and Hot Takes with Maral and John.
She's Maral.
That's John.
Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye.